Do you feel like you're riding a lot of momentum from last week? It seems like people were buzzing after the tournament. I think last week was potentially the best top to bottom event you guys have had since you've come back. So riding it into this one with Caldwell and McKee.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the cadence of these shows being back to back to back, lends itself to becoming building an audience, so to speak, on CBS. And I think that the fans appreciate that. We know that we keep our fighters busy, and then the tournament itself is very special because, like we said last week, is that we were here 8 months ago, had to put pause on everything, and to have the same group back here, the same fighters, it was a special night for us for sure.
Yeah, and talk to me about Darrion Caldwell versus AJ McKee, another fight that we've been anticipating. I think this is like kind of the last one of the fights that were scheduled before the pandemic, the big ones to come over. So how excited are you for this fight, and what do you think fans can expect to see out of it?
I'll tell you, I think it's going to be a really good fight, and I think that it's going to be, when I think back on how we signed Darrion Caldwell from the wrestling community, but AJ is a kid that, I walked into a community center back in 2014, right before I signed with Bellator, and I walked in to go see Rampage Jackson, say hello, and he was at a fight, and he was promoting this fight, and so AJ was the main event, and he actually won the amateur tournament. He was like the champion. So I looked at this kid. I think he was 17 years old at that time, or 18. He might have just turned 18, maybe 19. I don't know. He was very young, and so I go, this kid's got it. I mean, he's got the looks, he's got the build, he can fight, has a little swagger about him, a little cockiness about him, and I knew that he was Antonio's son, so I knew he came from a good lineage of a fighter, fighting and wrestling community, MMA fights. They've done it all. So once he decided to come and become a full-time fighter, I knew he would have all the resources to become great. And I think that's probably one of the first guy that we brought in that really has graduated to this point, and we talk about, buying free agents from the top down, building from the ground up. AJ is a perfect example of what we're doing here. And, DC is another guy that kind of got his ranks here, and it's going to be a war, man. I think that, my staff, they're all kind of like, this is a pick 'em fight, so let the best man win.
Absolutely. And the co-main event, Benson Henderson and Jason Jackson, how important do you think this fight is for Benson coming off of the knockout loss against Chandler? I know it's a different weight class and you can never count him out, but what kind of your read on this one and what it means for him?
I mean, I've been telling everybody, he's traditionally fights at 155. He wanted to take this fight. He thinks it's a good fight for him. Anytime a fighter moves up in weight, and the other guy fights at 170 all the time, it can be a problem. But listen, he's got a tremendous amount of experience. Last time he fought at 170, it wasn't pretty to watch. It just made you realize how tough of a guy Benson is, and he's just got a heart, man, like nobody's business. So, I wish them both well. Like I said, let the better man win. But I think Benson will have his hands full on this fight.
Yep. And something's not related to tomorrow night's card. Fabricio Werdum ultimately went to PFL. Do you feel like that was a good move for you guys to maybe not bring him on and for him to go with them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, his goals and his desires were different than our goals and our desires. And really, it's like, look, I'm happy for him. If we really, if Fabricio, wanted to, if we wanted him to be here and have a fight with Fedor, we could do that, right? But that's really probably the only fight that we would be interested in, and I think he was looking for a longer term deal and, multi-year, multi-fights. And if you look at our roster and the fighters that we're signing and the direction of the company where it's headed with the blue chip prospects and building the next crop and buying some free agents like Corey Anderson, and sprinkling in, still some talent, but I just think Fabricio has a better home there than he would have here.
Yep, and talking kind of leading right into my next question, when that list came out recently, it had some veteran names on it. It had Roy Nelson and Frank Mir of the guys you parted ways with. One name that wasn't on that list, but I noticed he's not on your website anymore, is Rampage Jackson. Is he still with you guys, or have you guys kind of parted ways?
Yeah, I mean, Rampage Jackson, again, he's another legend. And when he fought his fight in Tokyo a year ago, that was his last fight with Bellator. And so we haven't even talked to him or engage in any kind of conversations. But I think he's a complete free agent to sign wherever he wants to go.
Gotcha. Do you expect him to fight again in Bellator, or do you think that this will probably be?
I think he, like I said, if you look at the direction of where the company's headed, it's heading in a different direction.
Gotcha. And 2 more questions for me. Chris Cyborg, just thinking about the options that are next for her. I know that you told Sky Sports recently that you've been talking to Eddie Hearn about a potential Katie Taylor bout. Any advancements in the conversation about that? Is that something you think fans should expect to see?
You know what? I've seen Katie fight. She is an amazing boxer. And to me, I think the only way to make this fair, because why is it that always the MMA fighter has to go into boxing? You know, that's really, to me, it baffles me. Why don't they come into MMA? Why don't they come fight here? And maybe we could do 1-on-1. That's the conversation that we were having internally. Is like, hey, you can't just be always that the fighter goes to boxing. And you know what? And they say, well, because boxing pays more money. I'm telling you right now, no one's making more money than Chris Cyborg in the sport. So to me, let her come over here and fight in Bellator, and then win, lose, or draw, then Cyborg can go over there. But I don't see why it always has to be the other way around, and that might be something that gives it a hiccup. But if Cyborg really wants to do this, and she really wants to fight Katie, I'm going to step aside and we're going to let her get it on. But that's how I feel inside, and I think that Eddie can appreciate that. But again, it's up to Chris. If she wants to do it, then let's get it on in boxing, and then, maybe one day Katie will come into MMA. And
a couple of weeks ago, Gegard Mousasi defeated Douglas Lima here, and we asked you a lot of questions about Gegard, but what do you think Lima's future is at welterweight? I know you'd mentioned MVP or a rematch or Larkin. Is there any type of idea of what his next move is going to be?
Yeah, you know what? It hasn't been really fleshed out yet, but there's a couple names. I mean, like MVP wants to fight him again, right? Larkin wants to fight him again. But I think Neiman Gracie is a guy that has to have consideration right in there, because he's been doing extremely well. And he has a style that if he can get you on the ground, it's over. I mean, he can submit anybody. So to me, I think that's a name you should throw in that hat too.
Okay. I lied. One more question about your champion, Ryan Bader. Any similar sort of update you can give us on him and what he's going to be doing at heavyweight going forward?
Yeah, I asked my guys to reach out to him, and I think that I'm thinking going to try to push him to fight at heavyweight and defend his belt sometime beginning of the year, and then if he wants to come back down to 205, he can at some point.
Cool. Appreciate the time, Scott, and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.